DonInLondon, hello. It's the 9th of September 2009. This is my Just for Today video, and it's just a sort of general update on what it's like to be in recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. And all day I seem to have been reminded that we live just in one day, and we bring all our history with us to the moment. And I've been out and seen friends, and I've seen people I haven't seen for quite a while. So seeing them feeling happier and more stable in their outlook, and it's so easy to be knocked off balance. I'm glad I've got a fellowship which helps me go discuss, talk, express, be a part of, be included, not excluded, not isolated, and not feeling sorry for myself with a drink inside me. Or it wouldn't be one drink. I guess what I learned is that one drink did the damage, and after that, when it took the edge off and modified my feelings, and I got some sort of conviviality or sleepiness, or just a general feeling of being okay enough to be around. So what keeps me sober today? It's being a part of life, and being a part of a fellowship, and sobriety. So sobriety comes first and the rest can follow. I can be a reasonably tuned in person to myself and other people. So I go to Alcoholics Anonymous and I share the AA preamble or statement of intent, which is shared at the beginning of every meeting. I don't talk about specifics of people in AA or breach anybody else's anonymity. I can say I go to meetings, but I cannot say that anybody else goes to meetings. So anonymity for me is the opportunity to find the truth of who I am today. And that's done in the sanctuary of the rooms of AA. And then I work on open, honest and willing working relationships around me. So the AA statement of intent goes like this. And why I share it, so it slows me down into this moment. And it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And we're coming up to the anniversary of 9/11. And a couple of days ago the TV channels in the UK showed a documentary about what happened. Not so much the Twin Towers going down, although I guess they may have been featured, but it reminded me how I was when I first saw that as it was happening. And in the UK it was around about midday, I think, and I remember getting a phone call from a relative saying, have you seen what's happening in America? And believe you me, everybody in the UK was devastated by what was going on. And I think any humanitarian or person who has a fair mind could only see tragedy in what was happening. Those who did it and those who were impacted by it. And I guess for those who were right at the epicenter of all of this, ground zero, and those who survived it, and in a strange way we all survived it, and we all had different sets of feelings, and the world has changed dramatically because of it. Not necessarily in how we feel about that tragedy, but what has happened since, and the political impact. But I remember very clearly I was not in recovery at that moment, or in that stage of my life. And I was an active alcoholic, and it provided me with the opportunity to feel grief yet again, not only about that tragedy as it was happening, but also it just opened up my feelings about my life, and the general upset just accelerated me into another level of drinking for that day. And as the story unfolded during the day, and the horror and the disbelief, anger, resentment and hostility, and just hoping that people weren't going to, just hoping that there was no hope that day. And I can recollect my emotions being so, I guess, out of proportion and out of balance, that the whole of my life tragedy was focusing in on those events as well. And as time went by and the TV was on, I remember flicking from one channel to another, and then immersing myself in soaps which were on, and I could feel to an exaggerated extent what was happening in those. I couldn't make the difference between reality, fantasy, and what was happening. And today I recognise the tragedy as it is, and has been, and goes on for a lot of people. And I also know where I am being sober and being able to see the impact properly. So the gift for me these days is to know the difference, and being sober for some time, some years. The person who spoke tonight, 20 odd years clean and sober, shared a message around past, present and future, and it was absolutely phenomenal, because it reminded me of all the things I used to do to try and take the edge off and get by and deal with heartache as much as anything, and a life which had turned into a robot, which was to work hard, try and excel, and live a life based on those principles, material ones, rather than what is happening with people in the world and what is happening with people in my life. And there was a complete distortion. And to be reminded, past, as often said, look back, don't stare. We need to be reminded of it, where we've come from and why we are the way we are. And to live in the moment, and maybe just be careful about the future plans we make, which could be quite rigid. What AA has taught me is to let go, get on the main highway of living again, and see where it takes us. So, in a strange way, and also being in the company of people who've been changing their lives significantly over the last few months, from being narrowed down into that my life is like this, and it's crap, or it's average, or it's just busy and I don't seem to have time for myself, to finding balance where we find times for all those things in our lives which are important, mainly people. For me, sobriety, people, being a part of, being included, and learning from others, learning the wisdom that others have learned over the years to reinforce where I am today. So the gift for me in today is knowing a little bit more about who I am, and to be able to, I guess, share the passion and compassion that other people have for life. So what a change. And so these days, when I look at how am I doing, or how am I feeling, it's about emotional, spiritual and physical. So sober first, I don't know whether spiritual, emotional, they're sort of wrapped up for me, with not necessarily a religious connotation, or not necessarily understanding God in people's lives. But what I do know, good conscience, God, as Gandhi said, God works through people, God is truth, God is love. And if those are the principles, what more can we say? So I'm pleased just to be in the world, just pleased that I've had a good average day. An ordinary day is extraordinary, because I'm plugged into it, know what's going on in family, know what's going on around me, and just deal with the basics of life. Now, how good is that? So for me, in recovery, several years on, I can't remember early recovery that well, but there was an awful lot going on. I remember relapsing and getting to a stage where I thought, right, I'm on this 90 meetings of AA in 90 days, just to get myself back together. I got myself together. I don't know how many meetings I did in those 90 days. It was far in excess of that, because I was absolutely driven to do this recovery, not for anybody else, but for me, so I could get my wits back, and that's the gift. So what happened then between 90 days and 5 years later, or just over 5 years later, life has gone, I don't know what, the highlights are on a daily basis. Life has worked and I'm still here. I don't know if this makes any sense, but the gift always, in the serenity prayer, when I finish these, is, to good conscience, or God of your understanding, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today.